Popped up down the line. Raffy over near the seats. It came back. He's got it. And that is the ball game. Red Sox win it 9-4. They bounce back nicely here against the Rangers with back-to-back wins.
Yeah, the bats came alive. You know, a different night for Cody Crawford. He's perfect through 5, and then going to end up looking up there and seeing he gave up 4 runs. But I thought it was a good step forward to him. I thought his stuff was sharp. And again, it's about the bats. So you come out here tomorrow, you got a Texas team that's reeling here a little bit. You try to take advantage of it, and you get greedy and try to go for that sweep.
I agree with Lou Merlone. Go for the jugular. Go for the sweep. You get a chance to bury the Rangers. You get a weak team in the ballpark or a weakened team in the ballpark. You punch them right in the throat. Take 3 in a row. Who knows? You're going to be tied for the wild card spot tomorrow. Incredible as that may seem. But it is Wednesday night here on the Baseball Hour, and you know what that means. Jarren Carrabis, live and in studio, wearing a T-shirt that says "The Only One," which is apparently some sort of Roman Reigns wrestling T-shirt. Jimmy
Acknowledge
Stewart?
him, Tony.
Is that correct?
That is correct, Tony.
So when I asked Jared, what is the only one, or who is the only one, he said, I am.
He is the tribal chief of baseball.
Well, he is for us, for sure. Jarren Carrabis, also presented by Blue Moon Belgian White. Be sure to relax and enjoy the ball game with Blue Moon Belgian White. That's Blue Moon, born in a ballpark, brewed for baseball. Jared will be here for the entire hour, as he is every Wednesday. 617-779-0985. Red Sox, again, going for a sweep of the Rangers. They win again last night. So after 3 straight embarrassing losses to the Houston Astros over the weekend, they've won 2 in a row against the Rangers. Simultaneously, the Kansas City Royals have lost 2 in a row. The Red Sox and Royals now tied in the wild card race. In the loss column, Kansas City still 1 ahead in the standings. All of this led Jarren Carrabis to come up with a very specific question for the beginning of tonight's Baseball Hour. Jared, what is that question?
Well, I'm a fan of the show. First and foremost, Tony, I'm a fan of you. Big Tony Mazz guy.
Yeah, here we go.
Since the Herald days.
Uh-huh.
You know, we were a family, we were a Herald household growing up.
I've met both of your parents. Very nice people.
Very nice people. And then, when you went to the Globe, followed you there. And then when you started at 98.5 The Sports Hub, I was like, there's my guy, Tony Mazz, doing it big on sports radio. Mm-hmm. I followed you there, too. So I listen when I'm not alongside you on the program, Tony.
You're with me in spirit.
I'm with you in spirit, and I listen to you.
Yes.
You had a take after the Houston Astros series where it was something along the lines of like,
and Mike, they got their pants pulled down. They got their freaking pants pulled down, and they looked like a bunch of jackasses out there. Like they got exposed. They got exposed, Mike.
And I was like, listen, did they look good in that series? No, they did not. You were acting like the season was over. They're a game out of a wild card spot going into play tonight. I'm just asking, did you maybe overreact to that series? That was the question that I asked. And then you got Felger, like leading into this show, be like, he just defends the wall. He's just going to defend the wall. That's all he's going to do. These bobos, they're fanboys. That's all they are. It's a reasonable question, is it not, Jimmy? Did Tony overreact to that Astros series by waving the white flag on the whole season because of it?
Yes, he overreacted, but that's what we do. We have a talk show to do today.
And I have a job to do as well, and that's keep Tony on the tracks.
Jimmy, did I wave the white flag in that series, just to clarify?
Your tone did.
I never actually said the season's over.
Nah, you
no,
didn't
but
have
your to. Tone implied it.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I...
You have a tonality issue, Tony.
You do.
Before I respond, Jared,
okay,
I will tell you that I don't have a New York accent, so work on that part of it a little bit. The pitch was pretty accurate for the most part. That I will give you. Mm-hmm. So your question is, do I regret saying what I said after the Astros series?
Was it a little premature is more so my question.
No.
Okay.
No, the question is not whether or not the season was over. The question is whether or not the Red Sox are at a level that we should expect them to be at. That was really what the big picture is. I'm just giving you my 2 cents on that. I am eager to hear what the listeners have to say, as always. But you understand my point. Houston has 3 guys at the top of that lineup that used to be what you had. Okay? And Altuve, Bregman, and Alvarez. And the comparison was made by Alex Cora to compare David Ortiz and Judon Alvarez, or compare Alvarez to Ortiz over the weekend. I think it's a good comparison because that's the kind of centerpiece hitter that guy is in a lineup. And my only point was, whenever you go against talent, real talent, and those guys are real major league talent. Do we agree on that?
Yes.
Okay, the all-star caliber players. You might even have a Hall of Famer or 2 in that group.
Altuve, yes. I mean, Jordan's on that path.
I think Alvarez is on the path.
Well, statistically, he's in line with what Ortiz has done in his career. So, like, it's not even just like, oh yeah, like I like the swing, and he's kind of like the same model as, like, no. Statistically, he's David Ortiz.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying is those are world-class players. World-class players. And really, the primary point from my standpoint was the Red Sox on Friday night. Look, you watch every game in greater detail than I do. The Red Sox on Friday night in the 7th inning sent up 4 pinch hitters. Now, one of them never actually made it to the plate, right? That was Jansen. They sent Jansen up, and then they brought in a righty, so they sent Jansen back. He never actually faced a pitch.
Sure.
But you get the idea. 4 pinch hitters. What does that say about your roster if in August of a playoff caliber season, you're in a big game against another team and you have to send 4 pinch hitters to the plate?
I don't think that that's a roster thing. That's an Alex Cora thing. And as much as I love Alex Cora, I do sometimes think that he plays the matchups card a little too strongly, where maybe it's not so necessary. That was an example of it. When people go crazy over the righty-lefty matchup stuff, I mean, you look at a guy like Judon Alvarez that you just mentioned. He hits righties, he hits lefties. Like, why are we going to a lefty here just because Jordon's up? It's like, go with your best guy. He's their best guy. You need your best guy against him because he can hit both. So yeah, that's really it. I don't think it's more of a roster thing. I think it's just like, stop obsessing over the righty-lefty matchup stuff.
See, I do think it's a roster thing because if you have the kind of lineup that is a championship caliber lineup, you don't pinch hit more than once or so. Maybe twice in an extreme case. But once you get to the bottom part of the lineup, someone wants to match up left on a guy like you have a Trot Nixon at the bottom of your lineup, or an Alex Verdugo batting 7th, which is where he should be on a championship caliber team, that sort of thing. And a guy brings in someone for a matchup, then you go to your righty and you try to offset that. No problem. To do it 4 times in an inning, to me, illustrates just what kind of team they have here, because that's the way the Tampa Bay Rays play.
Well, that, and I can't remember if Alex Cora said it publicly or not, but the idea that he's managing all these games like they're playoff games. I don't think that he's doing stuff like that in May, but I think he sees these games against the Astros, sees that it's so the Houston Astros, I believe in mid-May, were 12 games under 500.
Correct.
They have the best record in baseball since then.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, they've won 7 straight, and you getting swept is part of that 7 straight. But they've statistically been the best team in baseball since mid-May. So getting bulldozed by them is not some sort of indicative, declarative statement that you can't hang. It's just, I mean, they're the Astros. That's what they do.
I just didn't like the way it happened. So that's really what it gets down. I don't dispute the losses. But even the game on Friday night, I just found the whole series alarming. It really, to me, was a statement more of how far away they are from really being championship caliber. And say what you want about the Astros, they're not quite as good this year as they've been in some other years over the last couple of months. As you pointed out,
they've been hurt.
Well, no, they've played very, very well in the last couple of months, so they get it back on.
It's been more than a couple of months. They sucked the first month and a half.
Yeah.
They've been the best team in baseball since.
Right, 3 months. Really. Yeah. For 3 months, they played very well. Their pitching staff comes in. They all throw bullets. They got live arms, all kinds of good off-speed stuff. And when I say bullets, I mean it's feels like a more traditional fastball off-speed approach rather than the other way around. I just think top to bottom, the Red Sox aren't close to that. I'm not telling you they're light years away, but they're not close to that.
They may be light years away. From the Houston Astros, when you're talking about established big league players, I mean, Alex Bregman, he's been hot recently. Judon Alvarez. Like, do you know that you have guys? I mean, I guess if you were to go like pound for pound, Casas could be that. as in terms of like a lefty middle of the order power bat. But do you have like a Bregman waiting in the wings right now? I mean, we can't answer that question really just yet. Altuve, like the experience that he has and the Hall of Fame resume, and you say whatever you want about what happened in 2017, but he wasn't even really involved in much of that. But yeah, and the guy that we haven't even mentioned yet is Kyle Tucker, and he hasn't played. He's been hurt, but I think he'll be back relatively soon. I think they're hoping to get him back sometime this month. But Kyle Tucker, before he got hurt, he was in the MVP car. He was having like a Jarren Duran season.
Correct.
So yeah, I mean that just talks about how good, and then their rotation is like 3-4 guys deep, and they're all pretty good.
They are.
Like Blanco, Brown.
And how do you like the arms out of their bullpen?
They're fine. I mean, like Hader is obviously supposed to be way better than what he's been this year. Like he's been awful, but they've been carried by Bregman, Alvarez, in their rotation. Like their whole season turning around is because of those guys. Framber, that's what's carried them here.
So Jared again asked me whether or not I want to take back my thoughts after the Houston series. I don't. Shocker. But I also have some questions for him and for you. So you being the listener. So here's what we're going to get to over the balance of the show. The quote-unquote Big Three introduced yesterday in Worcester. Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer, Kyle Teal all unveiled in a press conference together. I did have a thought when I saw the photo of them together in that press conference that really frustrated me. We'll get to that. Jarren Duran, his 2-game suspension, what the future holds for Jarren Duran, we will get to that. And Triston Casas, who remains in the minor leagues and whom Alex Cora sounds frustrated with. We'll also get to that. All of that tonight. No more questions from Jared, only answers on the Baseball Hour.
Stay tuned for more of the Baseball Hour coming up on the Sport.
Anthony, Teal, and Meyer were just promoted to AAA. What are your thoughts on having those guys a step away?
I mean, they were a step away in Portland too, so it's good for them. Just go out there and keep getting better, and that's something that Epi has said all along. You know, that they're good players, but they're working on everything. You know, good base runners. You know, being a good teammate. You know, there's a lot in play development that is not only what happens in between the lines. Like I told him in spring training individually, I said there's no age limit in the big leagues, right? You can make it at 19 or you make it at 35. It doesn't matter. You know, if you're good, you're good. And, you know, the fact that they're going all together over there is going to be fun to watch. And they're going to be a big part of this in the future. They really are. And I'm glad that they're doing an outstanding job.
That was on Sunday at Fenway Park. Alex Cora was asked, following the announcement, he was asked about Kyle Teal, Roman Anthony, Marcelo Meyer all being promoted to AAA. It was treated like a rite of passage for those three players, and I'm mocking it on some level, Jared. I understand it. Okay, I understand it. Mm-hmm. These guys are getting a lot of hype. Now they're at AAA. I think even Cora kind of threw a little dig at it there. A little bit at the beginning. I think it was Chris Cotillo of Math Live that asked the question about those three guys being promoted. And Cora said, well, they were, you know, a heartbeat away before that. I mean, they could have come up from AA. It's not like that's unprecedented. So I think it was Cora's way of saying this isn't as big a deal as you're making it out to be. So it's the next step in the progression. I thought there was a chance they were going to announce when Tom Caron said on Nesson, and now I'm rambling a little, but when Tom Caron said, there's an announcement involving the big three, which everyone is calling them now. I thought it was going to be that they're going to be up in September. Maybe you're going to see them at the end of September. There was a chance they'd make their big league debuts. The fact that it was AAA kind of, I found it to be kind of Mickey Mouse. Like it's nice that it happened, but you tell me, too much emphasis on it or not enough?
It's a little bit of both. When they got to AAA, you have to remember, too, like they got rid of a level of minor league baseball. So I get it. Like when Andrew Benintendi completely skipped AAA and it was like, oh, you don't need AAA. It's like, well, there was more levels to go through and there was more talent to play with and see where you were at. And there's also the guys that were drafted post or pre-2020 that missed out on an entire year of minor league development because of COVID. So I think any prospect that comes with a ton of hype is overhyped because no one knows. It doesn't matter what talent evaluator you talk to, what outlet you're going to read, like the Baseball Americas of the world. No one knows for sure. So, yes, there's a ton of hype around these guys, but would there be as much hype around these guys, Tony, if the Red Sox weren't so bad in 2020, 2022, and 2023? Probably not. I think the hype comes from the please save us, from the fan base. If the Red Sox were just cruising along like the Dodgers, winning 95-plus games every single year, then you would have this ho-hum, like it's another top prospect that we're going to turn into an all-star at the big league level, and like we'll see where they slot in terms of the roster construction. But I think the fans are just so desperate for, after trading Mookie Betts and seeing the 2018 core just dissolve into what it's become, I think it's more just the hope of please be something. Not we know you're going to be something, but please be something. I think that's where the hype is.
Okay, are the Red Sox playing into it?
Yeah, of course.
Are they smart to? I guess what I'm getting at, let me ask you this question in the simplest terms. Do you have any concerns about the pressure that's going to be put on these three kids when they get here?
No, they don't care. I've talked to all three of them. Oh, actually, I have not talked to Kyle Teal, but I talked to Meyer, I talked to Anthony, and these dudes, I mean, they're ready for it. I mean, they on off days will go to Fenway just to like sit in the stands because they want to like, they're invested. There's definitely prospects that I've talked to where they only care about getting promoted. They care about what their exit velocity is. They care about, personal stats. When I talked to Anthony, Meyer, they were like, I was like, what are you working on down here? And they're like, we're learning how to win. Like that's what they said. So I think that they're just a different breed. I think it means something to them that they've gotten promoted together. It's kind of a nod from the organization where they're roommates down there. They hang out together outside of playing baseball. They work out together. They're just baseball rats. And so they're being rewarded for that. And then we did Unobstructed Views last week, and we had Eric Hosmer on. And I asked him, how important was it for those Royals teams that kind of all came up through the minors together, and then you guys built this core at the big league level together, made it to the World Series, lost, made it back to the World Series and won the whole thing. Like how important was it that you guys kind of came up through the ranks together? And he's like, oh, it's super important. So it's not that the Red Sox are looking at that model, but the model exists and it has worked before. So I'm not going to sit here and say, they're babying them and they're parading them around as the next big thing. I think that there's a logic behind it, and it's kind of a proven logic.
So, look, the idea about bringing them along together is fine. I just don't think they need to do press conferences together as a threesome. Like, that to me feels like, an orchestrated attempt to say, here's our future, we're going to celebrate this.
But what about winter weekend? I mean, they are already done this when they were going. They hadn't even gotten to Portland together. And
I don't like that either.
Yeah, they were parading them around like, hey, like this is the next big thing. But I think that what that said to me at the time was, we're not interested in trading these guys. It was the off season. They could have traded them for a pitcher. This was pre-trade deadline. Like, we're letting these guys, we're building around these guys for the future.
So I never had a doubt about that. I didn't think they'd move any of these guys. Not often that the Red Sox get the chance to pick up that high in the draft, especially with Meyer, and then trade away the talent. So I didn't think that was coming. But I have a couple more questions for you as it relates to those players and really what their futures are here, which we'll get to in a minute, and as it affects the futures of some of the guys here as well. Woody and Brockton. Woody, go ahead.
Hey, Mazz.
What do you got,
How you
Woody?
guys doing?
Good. What do you got?
Hey, I got a question about Craig Breslow, just a comment. I was listening earlier today, and you guys were talking about what credit he should get for what he's done so far. Can we subtract off what he did with the Chris Sale trade?
Sure, of course. Yes, but I'll tell you what, Jared, I know you brought this point up. Is it about getting rid of Sale or about not getting something back that has given them some sort of return yet?
Yeah.
In other words, how many people were really bitching about the trade of Chris Sale?
Nobody. At the time that it was made, it was nobody. And you kind of looked at it as the Braves are giving you a guy that is a top prospect in their system, but they just don't have a place for him. It wasn't like some reclamation project or it didn't work out here, so you take him. It was, hey, he's a really talented player, but we have Albies and they liked Arcia up the middle. So they were like, all right, yeah, fine, take him. But it obviously hasn't worked out yet, but there's still plenty of time for it to work out. I think he's got like 5 more years of control after this.
Grissom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should Grissom be any warning for Red Sox fans about what to expect from young players?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, how many times has a prospect gotten called up and it just didn't click right away? Even if they do come up and they don't perform well right away, that doesn't mean that it's a lost cause. I mean, Xander Bogaerts, I know he contributed to that 13 run when he first got called up, but that was like a month and a half sample maybe. And then he was getting moved around the infield in 14, and we couldn't figure it out. Like, what are we going to do with this guy? So it takes a little while to click. Even if you have to be patient with them. I don't think that the Red Sox care to fast track these guys to the big leagues. I think that they are smart for taking their time with them and hitting every level and making sure that they're making progress each step of the way. But let's say they get called up next year, or they can make the team out of spring training, and it doesn't go well to start. Well, guess what? That doesn't mean that they're busts. Like, even then, it's like you got to give them time.
Well, so this is the part that concerns me a little bit is that, look, I'm all for that. Who doesn't want a good farm system? Everybody wants a good farm system. What is the best way to put them in a position to succeed and to develop into good players? And I think that's to bring them into a good operation with veteran players where they can make their mistakes and still be contributors to a good team. I'm a little bit worried about the environment they're going to drop these kids into. And look, this year's been better. I'm not telling you it's over yet. Okay? Or I am telling you it's not over yet, but it's been better. They still don't have a pitching staff that is championship caliber. They don't have a lineup that I think is ready to take on 3 young guys, particularly if they're all left-handed. And so, you mentioned Benintendi a little while ago. What has become of his career? You follow me? So Benintendi was good at the beginning. He flashed. And then something went sideways. Cora, I remember we asked Alex Cora about it, and it was Cora believed that Benintendi wanted to hit for more power, sort of started messing with his swing and completely screwed himself up. And it might be that simple. All I'm saying is there are a lot of variables with these minor leaguers that fans just sort of completely ignore. Tell you what, before we go to break, let me ask you, what do you think the odds are that all three of them are going to be all-stars?
Ooh.
And I mean all-star caliber. I don't mean as rookies. Okay, I mean, what do you think the odds are that all three players are going to fulfill their potential?
I believe in Roman Anthony the most. I mean, the exit velocity numbers do not lie. I believe he has the second hardest hit ball in the Red Sox organization, the entire organization this year, and the hardest hit was Devers. So he's the real deal. Teal, super talented. I think that, there's potential there for him to be one. And then with Meyer, I mean, do you like Dansby Swanson? It's like, is Dansby Swanson the best shortstop? Was he ever the best shortstop in the league? No, but a very good player on a championship level team. Yes.
So you think they're all going to make it as good regulars in Major League Baseball?
I would like if that happened, Tony. I can't promise you anything.
Okay.
I'm not Keith Law over
we
here.
would all like it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the odds are against that.
Sure.
Okay, the odds are against that.
Jared, your success rate is better than Keith Law's.
That's true.
And I like Keith Law from Worcester.
I would agree, Jared. I like your success rate, too.
Thank you.
Very much so.
Appreciate that.
Who's back there? Majori, Jimmy?
Majori, yeah.
Majori's got the headlines. I want to get to Jarren Duran.
Somebody else with a good success rate, Kevin Majori.
Because I said something today on Felger and Mazz that I've thought a little about over the last couple of days. A little. Always a dangerous thing. Regarding Jarren Duran, but the more I think about it, the more I'm committed to it. I'll throw that by Jared, gets his thoughts. I'm going to ask him about Triston Casas, who's taking a lifetime to return to the Major League roster and get back on the field at Fenway Park. And there was one other thing I wanted to get to with Jared, too. I can't remember what the hell it was. Well, let's start with those two. Duran and Casas when we come back.
Sports Hub headlines.
Red Sox and Rangers are underway at Fenway Park. They're closing out a 3-game set. It is currently 0-0 in the top of the second. Sox outfielder Tyler O'Neill today said he got discharged from Mass General Hospital yesterday after 4 days in the hospital having his leg infection treated. Started baseball activity yesterday. He will travel with the team, and he hopes that he might be able to be activated without a minor league rehab stint. A little bit on Jeremy Swayman and the Bruins. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet in Canada on his latest 32 Thoughts podcast said that the last I heard, they weren't close. I think this has been a bit of a challenging negotiation, but they've still got time, and we'll see how this sorts out. Still no deal, obviously, between the Bruins and Swayman. Patriots, their second preseason game is tomorrow night at Gillette Stadium against the Philadelphia Eagles. Kickoff set for a little bit after 7 o'clock. Other NFL news, Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell confirming today that rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy is done for the year after having surgery to repair a meniscus injury. A sad day for Michigan Wolverines fans around the country. Also today for the Vikings, wide receiver Jordan Addison was carted off with an apparent leg injury, and Ravens tight end Mark Andrews was in a car accident on his way to the facility today. He was evaluated by Ravens medical staff, and there are no apparent injuries. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Connecticut Sun. Check out their free youth sports
kind of say that I've had some fans reach out to me and tell me that they're disappointed in me, and I just wanted to let them know that I'm sorry for my actions and that I'm going to work on being better for them.
Have you heard from Major League Baseball since yesterday?
About what?
About what happened yesterday? Did you talk to anybody in baseball? There's been no outcome yet in terms of...
What do you mean? I'm suspended 2 games.
Is anything beyond that?
No, I just had the 2-game suspension.
Yeah, Jarren Duran earlier in the week. Suspended for 2 games by the ball club. And again, this is something we didn't put a lot of emphasis on, but I do find it it's just a detail that does matter, Jared. The team suspended him. MLB did not suspend him. The team suspended him.
The league recommends a number of games, and then they say, like, if you guys want to handle this, you can, but if you say you're not suspending him, then we are. So it's like better from you. And the precedent has been set. There's been other players that have said the same exact word, and they got 2 games. So they were just like, hey, 2 games. Sounds good to you? Sounds good to us? All right, we'll let you handle it.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox were smart to take that option. It allows them to make a statement that they're not going to condone, that sort of stuff. And, look, as it comes to the transgression, there's really no debating it. The question for me is about Jarren Duran and what he is and what his future is with the Red Sox. And I bring this up, Jared, because I don't know if you saw this too long ago. Sean McAdam of Mass Live said that Jarren Duran should be one of the guys that the Red Sox are approaching about contracts. What do we got? Jimmy, you got something? Oh, all right, we got breaking news. Go.
This is Breaking Sports News.
Powered by Valvoline Instant Oil Change.
On 98.5, The Sports Hub.
Per Jordan Schultz, who is kind of like an independent NFL insider right now.
Yes, exactly.
The Patriots are close to finalizing a trade that will send Pro Bowl pass rusher Matthew Judon to the Atlanta Falcons per multiple sources.
Okay, Matthew Judon going to Atlanta.
Yes.
Atlanta. And no word, Jimmy, about what they'll be getting back?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, no surprise there. I think everybody saw this coming, that there was going to be a Judon deal at some point in time, and now the Patriots going to move on from Matthew Judon. And Jordan Schultz is, which one is he, Jimmy? Football Outsiders?
He's kind of an independent NFL insider at this point.
Okay. I thought he was Football Outsiders. I might have gotten that wrong. But in any case, thank you for busting in with that. Again, if you did not hear, Matthew Judon, according to Jordan Schultz, the Patriots have agreed to send him to the Atlanta Falcons. No word yet on what the Patriots will be getting back. If we get that, certainly we will tell you here before the top of the hour on the Baseball Hour. Joe Murray will be here at 7 o'clock. He'll have you for the rest of the night, so he'll have updates on that developing story. Jared, what were you and I talking? Oh, about Duran. So, to me, I look at it this way. If these 3 kids at AAA are on the verge of coming, Anthony, Meyer, Teal, and if they're all going to come at the same time, which is no guarantee, but it's possible, all left-handed at the plate, Jarren Duran is 28 years old, and I remember what I was going to say to you now. Sean McAdam wrote not too long ago, Jarren Duran's a guy they should approach about a long-term contract. They've done it with Bayo. They've done it with Rafaela. They've inquired maybe with Casas and Houck, but no deals. He adds Jarren Duran to the list. And rather than, sort of ask, I don't think Duran should belong on that list, and I don't think he will end up on it largely because of his age. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's going to be eligible for arbitration for a few years, then a free agent at age 31. I have a hard time believing the Red Sox are going to sign like a 6-year contract to a guy who's going to be 34 at the end of the deal. I don't think they'll do it. I would trade Jarren Duran. I would move him this offseason. I think his stock is high. He clearly has proven he can play in the big leagues. He was in the All-Star game, was MVP of the All-Star game. They got left-handed hitters coming out their backside. They need pitching. They need right-handed bats. Shouldn't Jarren Duran be able to get you something? And am I nuts for wanting to trade him?
He would definitely get you something. I don't think that you're nuts. I personally would not do it. I've heard the case of people who think that the Red Sox should do it, and it makes sense. When you look at his skill set, and I mean, once his speed starts to diminish, all those doubles, all those triples, those aren't doubles and triples. I mean, that's just the crux of it. I think it would send an awful message to the clubhouse. I mean, but then again, it's like, is he the leader? Is he not? I mean, it depends on who you ask. It's like, well, Rob Refsnyder is the leader of this team.
Jared, I'm going to interrupt you again.
Sure.
All right, I'm sorry. Yeah, Jimmy, go ahead. What do you got on TV?
This is breaking sports news.
Powered by Valvoline Instant Oil Change.
On 98.5, the Sports Hub.
I just like having the power to hit the breaking news button, quite frankly.
Yeah, no problem. I love it.
Per Ian Rappaport at Rap Sheet, blue check mark. Patriots are trading Matthew Judon to the Falcons, landing a third-round pick from the Falcons.
Okay, third rounder. It's a little bit better than I thought they were going to get.
That's a great deal for the Patriots.
I was going to say a fourth, maybe. And they're obviously eager to get him out of here. Where did the Falcons pick in this year's draft? Weren't they like 11th? Didn't Penix go at number 11 or something? No, Minnesota might have been 11. So Penix might have been a little later, middle of the first round. Atlanta could end up in a similar boat this year, although they did spend a lot of money on Cousins. So, we'll see what happens with the Falcons. But a third rounder, I think they did okay.
Falcons drafted Michael Penix at number 8 this year.
Number 8? Okay, so again, they were in the top 10.
That's a potential top 100 pick. And the Patriots don't have to pay Matthew Judon any more money, which is really where they win.
So they weren't going to pay him a lot anyway, which is what the whole problem was in the first place. So with Judon, Cousins, new coach, new coordinator, is Atlanta a playoff team? Maybe. But independent of that, I guess we're splitting hairs over where that third round pick's going to end up. But again, for those of you who are just joining, Matthew Judon, according to multiple reports now, traded from the Patriots to the Atlanta Falcons for a third-round selection. Jimmy, I'm assuming that's in 2025?
That's the assumption right now, but I don't have that specific detail.
Okay, again, I'm sure Joe Murray will have more on this tonight starting at 7 o'clock.
My apologies for interrupting you, my tribal chief.
I accept.
It's quite all right, Jared. We don't often have breaking news on this show, especially in other sports. But that is one that is certainly worthy of the news sounder. So back to Jarren Duran. You were saying you would think it would send a bad message to the club.
Yeah.
To the guys in the clubhouse.
Yeah. I think he's obviously one of the leaders of the team. Whether you agree with that being a good thing or not, I mean, that's totally up to you. But yeah, I think that would be kind of like, that would send like a shockwave through this clubhouse if that's what they were doing. But to your point, like, they are super, super left-handed, and you're trading a left-handed outfielder, but that you're just going to replace him with a left-handed outfielder, and you already have one in Willier. It's quite the predicament that they would find themselves in if that's what they were going to do.
What about the off-field component? Do you think that's any sort of factor? I mean, he's had as a flare-up in Kansas City when he was a rookie, sort of jousting with a fan out there. Now this thing, yelling at a fan, in what was, frankly, embarrassing to the organization, for lack of any other word. Does that at all factor in, do you think, in their thinking?
In order to trade him?
Yes.
Maybe, but I don't think it weighs that heavily. I think if they move him, it's strictly a baseball decision where it's like, hey, we need pitching. I mean, you mentioned it earlier. They do not have championship caliber pitching. They know that. It's kind of just an objective statement at this point. So they have to use whatever. And if you're really gonna talk about this big three, and we're not gonna break them up, well, you have to give to get, and you have to part with some very valuable assets because the market for starting pitching is crazy. So it makes sense.
I'd move him. Again, I'd move Duran. I think there are going to be more problems with him down the road. Steve's in Fall River. Steve, go ahead.
How are you, Tony, and your guest? Tony, you have to come clean with everybody and say that you don't like the Red Sox model. You wanted them to take the shortstop and sign him, the guy they let go to San Diego. You want them to have bad contracts just for the sake of spending money. You don't like the fact that they're building through the draft.
That's not true.
You made a statement earlier this year that the whole team was built around Trevor's story. You went on for 3 days that you can't believe this roster was heavily – the whole season was dependent on Trevor's story. You remember that? You were astonished that the whole season revolved around Trevor's story when he got hurt.
Steve,
you said that, you know.
Steve, you clearly remember more what I said than I do, so why don't you tell me what I said?
You said it's hard to believe that the whole season was revolving because they were in a real bad way for a week after this guy got hurt, that the whole roster revolved around him, and it didn't revolve around him. It may have looked like it at that point. Yesterday, you said they were fake contenders. You had a term yesterday. What was the term you were calling?
The illusion of contention. Dan Shaughnessy's comment.
Okay, today you went, so you moved the goalpost in one day. The illusion of contention, because they shattered your story yesterday by winning yesterday. Now you're back to the comparison with Houston. They're not a World Series caliber. They can't win a championship. You went from saying they were a false contender, which is false statement. And thank you for having me on, by the way, Tony. I love you, by the way.
Yeah, Steve's mad because I called him Abner Doubleday the other night. That's what he's mad about. Wow. So, no, what I said is I want a championship caliber organization. And by the way, they could have signed Bogarts for a lot less rather than what he got from San Diego.
If they had given Xander Bogaerts the Trevor Story contract a year before, Xander Bogaerts is still the shortstop for the Boston Red Sox today.
Bingo. And I'd rather have Bogaerts.
What you want?
And I'd rather have Bogaerts and Story.
I mean, he hasn't been good either.
But why do people always assume the exact same things are going to happen here that happen somewhere else?
I mean,
I don't get that.
I get what you're saying, but I think it was less about. It's not like he hasn't been good because of the ballpark or something like that, or the weather. It's San Diego.
Yeah, I still come back to the same thing. Xander Bogaerts worked here.
Mm-hmm.
It worked. Has Trevor Story worked?
No.
Okay. And when I said that Trevor Story is the centerpiece of the team, he was hitting third earlier in the year. Steve.
Take that, Steve.
If you think Trevor Story's a number 3 hitter, I take back calling you Doubleday. I take it back. That was a compliment. That was meant to be a backhanded compliment. But it suggested that you knew a lot about baseball. If you think Trevor Story's a number 3 hitter, I take it back. I'll never call you Doubleday again because you don't deserve it.
Wow. Strong.
Anyway, I want to get to Carrabis with Triston Casas as well. Frankly, Jared, I want you to answer for Triston Casas.
Okay, happy to do it.
We'll do that when we come back in the baseball hour.
This is the Baseball Hour with Tony.
Back here on the Baseball Hour, we'll wrap it up with Jarren Carrabis, again presented to you by Blue Moon. But just quickly, a refresher on the breaking news of the last 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Matthew Judon, Patriots linebacker Matthew Judon, traded. According to multiple reports, including Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, the other was Jordan Schultz, who initially broke the story. Matthew Judon to the Atlanta Falcons for a third-round selection, presumably in the 2025 draft. Jimmy, there hasn't been like an acknowledgement from the team or anything like that yet on the deal. Is that correct?
No, not yet.
Okay, but again, these are, I don't need to tell you, legitimate NFL followers and reporters who have that story out there, multiple sources now. So no surprise, really, but Judon gone. Patriots are in a contract dispute with Judon. He has been traded to the Atlanta Falcons for a third-round pick. Before we wrap it up with Jarren Carrabis, I did want to ask you about Triston Casas, and I asked you about this last week too, but I want to ask you again. Should he be here, Jared? Should he be here already?
At this point, I think I would have had a different answer last week, but at this point, yeah. He can't be that far off. I mean, he hit a bomb yesterday. He was hitting doubles the first few games that he was down there rehabbing. I don't know what it is that they're expecting to see. Is it like a pain tolerance thing? Like, can you play back-to-back days? Can you play the full 9? Maybe it's that. But as far as performance goes, yeah, he's hitting the crap out of the ball. So
based on what Alex Cora said the other night, he made it sound like it was Casas' decision.
What was
last week? This is last week.
I
don't have it in front of me, Jared, but the basic comment was physically he's fine. He's ready to play. That's what Cora said. Mm-hmm. He's working on his craft, and I'm paraphrasing a little, but that's almost a direct quote. He's working on his craft. He's going to let us know. And then made some allusion also to Casas wanting to get his timing. Mm. Okay? And I look at it and say, you're in a playoff race in the middle of August. Get your timing at the big league level. You have value to the team just being in the lineup and on the field. I think it's something that a lot of young players have to learn, that sometimes you got to come back and be ready at something less than 100%. Your routines are your routines. Casas is clearly a creature of habit and a believer in routines. But I do think sometimes you got to bend and do it for the team.
I'd feel more strongly about it if Dom Smith wasn't doing as well as he's been doing.
Okay.
If he was still hitting $150 or whatever, it's all right, yeah, get your ass up here, Casas. But I mean, I don't know. I think it says more about problems down in the future. If this were to ever happen again, and you don't have a backup like Dom Smith that's doing a good job, then it's all right, maybe I can question how bad he wants it or whatever. But I just don't feel that way about Casas. I think he'll be here when he's ready, and if he's ready, then he'll be one of the best hitters in the American League. I'm fine with that.
Okay, before we let you go, I'll ask you for a prediction. Will they make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Is that your heart or your head speaking?
Both.
So your head thinks that they're going to get in.
I mean, they're better than the Royals. You saw them play head-to-head. They took both series. I think they're better than the Royals. I don't think they're better than... the Twins are playing great right now, too. So I used to feel that they were better than the Twins as well, and that they were going to slide into that 5th spot. Yes, they're good enough to be the 6th seed in the American League, yes.
I agree. I don't know if they're going to make it, but I agree that they're good enough to be the
way to defend the wall, Jared.
Yeah.
Underdog Fantasy Bobo. Boo.
Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention Underdog Fantasy, that Jared works for Underdog Fantasy.
Yeah.
And acknowledge your employer. That's my bad.
Hey, don't worry about it.
And Section 10 night coming to Fenway Park soon. Jared
is
September 9th. Throw out the first pitch.
Tell people
September
about
9th.
that.
Yeah, Section 10 night at Fenway Park.
And what kinds of things might be planned in the festivities?
I asked for a dunk tank for Tyler Milliken. And I heard that they're working on it. That's not even a pipe dream. We might actually be able to do that. And we've got some other tricks up our sleeve.
I'll provide money if money's needed to get Milliken in a dunk tank.
Oh, we're going to be charging people money, and we're going to donate it to charity, but he's going to do it for free. He's all excited about it. So.
Oh no, I am going to be at the ballpark.
You better be.
If he's in the dunk tank?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to come to dunk Milliken's ass in that thing like you would not believe.
Please do.
And by the way, you get 3 throws for whatever you donate?
Yeah.
I'll hit the target all 3 times.
There you go. RedSox.com/Section 10. Get your tickets. You get Section 10 jersey as well.
Jersey or T-shirt?
Jersey.
Ooh. If you buy a ticket to the game?
Yep. You have to go through the link, though. You can't just get a ticket to the game. It's RedSox.com.
Tony, I'll send you the link.
Yeah, Section 10. And then you buy the ticket through our promo, and then you get the jersey. You get a ticket to the game.
What if I get in on a media pass?
No jersey for you.
You're not going to hold a jersey to the side for me after all we've done for you on this show?
Listen, Tony, I would love to get a jersey for you.
After all he's done for our show, I mean, he's bumped us up in the 18 to 34 demos.
Cheap
the island
bastard.
the island of relevancy.
Cheap bastard.
I'll get you a jersey, Tony.
I thought working with Ordway all those years was a freaking lesson in getting abused.
Well, Tony, I made you.
Wow.
If you're there, Tony, I'll get you a jersey.
Ordway never gave me jack on that show. Anyway.
I gave you exposure bucks, Mazz.
Kevin Majori's Get Your Headlines. Joe Murray, I'm sure, with more on the trade of Matthew Judon, which Majori will tell you all about next. We'll catch you tomorrow.